Hello and welcome to Lamplighter. Today is April 2. As we continue in our daily Bible reading, you may recall from yesterday's reading that Saul had tried to kill David, that Saul is pursuing David. David and his dear friend Jonathan, the son of Saul, have parted ways, and David is fleeing for his life. As we open the reading today, David flees to Nob and meets there with a priest by the name of Ahimelech. David is by himself and he's hungry and he's seeking bread from this priest in the tabernacle at Nob. Well, as it turns out, the priest is a little bit suspicious, wondering, why is David here by himself? And David pretends to be on a special mission from Saul, that Saul the king has given him some urgent business that's something of a private matter, and David has been entrusted with this, and so David is on a sort of a solo mission for the king. And when the priest Ahimelech asks David about his men, he says, well, we've already made pre-arrangements to meet at another location. Now, do you have some bread that I can eat? Well, the priest answers him and says, well, only bread I have is the consecrated bread that we use in the tabernacle. I don't have any ordinary bread. And David is still insisting that he be given something to eat. And so the priest agrees to give him the consecrated bread for he and his men if the men have kept themselves from women. That's an interesting statement because it is consecrated or holy bread. It's important that it be eaten by people who have been consecrated or made holy as well. And so once again, we see this idea that holiness cannot be mixed with commonness. What is pure and holy must remain that way. No mixture with those things that are common or unholy. David says, I know that my men are consecrated, and I know that their things are consecrated, because it's always like that. Every time we go on a mission, even if the mission itself is not a holy one, we are holy, we are consecrated. And so he is given this bread by Ahimelech to eat. From there, David starts to wonder if Ahimelech has a weapon for him. He asks him, do you have a sword anywhere around? And Ahimelech only has one. Interestingly, he has the sword of Goliath, the very Goliath that David himself had slain earlier. And so Ahimelech is prepared to give David his sword. And again, David makes a kind of a flimsy excuse about how he left Saul's employ so rapidly because the matter was so urgent upon which he is pursuing that he didn't have time to get his weapons. So it's all kind of flimsy, but David is literally fleeing for his life. He's been given the consecrated bread, and now he's been given the sword of Goliath as well. David continues his flight from there and flees to Gath. The king of Gath accepts David, but the man of Gath and his servants are skeptical because they're saying to themselves, wait a minute, isn't this the same David upon whom the Israelites pronounced this great blessing by singing this little song? Saul has slain his thousands and David has slain his tens of thousands. When David heard that they were saying this about him, it frightened him. He took their words to heart and he was literally afraid. And so then he begins to feel a need to protect himself. He's already kind of skewed the facts a little bit with Ahimelech to make it seem like he's on some secret mission. Now in this case, in Gath, he pretends to go insane. He's allowing his saliva to come out of his mouth and run down on his beard as though he's a crazy man, so that they won't think that he is a danger to them in any way. And of course, throughout this time, David is writing psalms. He's the great songwriter of Israel. And you see from the captions of the songs that many of his songs are written during this time of fleeing for his life from King Saul. And this is no exception to that rule. We have Psalm 34 here, which is one of my personal favorites. And there are some great lines in Psalm 34. For example, quote, the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. There's nothing to be afraid of because the angel of the Lord is surrounding those who fear him, who honor him, who respect him, and the angel of the Lord will deliver them. I love this line in Psalm 34. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Use your senses. Understand God is present. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. David needs some refuge. He wants to taste and see that the Lord is good. And then I want to direct your attention back to page 417. Right in the middle of the page, you have this couple of paragraphs here that re-emphasize something we've said all along. Remember, the formula has been very clear. When a person is obedient, God blesses. When a person is disobedient, God punishes them. Now notice this. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry. The face of the Lord is against those who do evil, to cut off the memory of them from the earth. Now the righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. There it is again. Those who are righteous, God protects. Those who are not, God turns away from. Now, as we read on, David is hiding out in a cave, and there are some 400 supporters who come to surround David with their love, their encouragement, their support for him. These are men who are described as those who are in distress. They are in debt. They are discontent. They gather around David. He forms a little army, you might say, and he leads them. There are some great warriors that join with David. And David has his own little military force now. People who love him, who care for him, who support him and want to fight with him and for him. David is still fleeing from Saul, and he's still hiding in caves. So he leaves his parents in Moab because the days are so uncertain, while he's in the stronghold of Adullam. Now, while David is in the stronghold of Adullam, a prophet by the name of Gad comes to him, and he says, you need to get out of the stronghold. You need to go into the land of Judah. And so David does, and that's the way our reading ends today. That sounds pretty tame, doesn't it? Get out of the stronghold, go into the land of Judah, the prophet says. But if you start to think about this, the name Judah literally means thanksgiving. It means praise. And it's as though the prophet is saying to David, quit wallowing around in self-pity in this cave, in this stronghold. Quit hiding. Quit cowering down. You are the anointed one of God. You are a man after God's heart. Get out of the hole. Get out of the cave. Go into the land of Judah. Be thankful. Give God your praise. Worship him. Honor him. Praise him. The angel of God will surround you. He'll deliver you. He'll protect you. He'll lead you where you need to go. What great advice from the prophet. And I want to close with that great advice for us as well. Sometimes when life beats us down, when things don't go the way we think they should, when we feel like we're being treated unfairly, what do? We kind of hunker down. We kind of pout maybe. We wallow in our own self-pity. Hear the words of Gad the prophet. Let him be an encouragement to us as well. Get out of the doldrums. Get out of the pit. Quit hiding out. Quit hunkering down. Quit cowering from life. But go to the land of Judah. Go where you can praise. Go where you can smile. Go where you can be thankful. Because we serve a God who is sovereign, a God who loves us, a God who died to save us, a God who wants to live eternally with us. What more could we possibly need? He surrounds us with his presence. He surrounds us with his love, and he wants to be our God. He wants us to be his people. Isn't it great to be a lamplighter? His word is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. I hope you have a blessed day.